Talia looked at the boy with a wary, piercing gaze. He was staring back at her with eyes that were unnervingly clear. "What are you doing here?" "I escaped from the palace to see my big sister," the boy replied, his voice so cheerful it felt almost like an insult. Talia grimaced. Her little brother, Astros, who had just turned 6, was a constant, throbbing ache in her side. Though they shared the same parents, their lives were as different as the sun and the abyss. This boy was the legitimate son of the emperor and empress, born in the hallowed light of wedlock. She was nothing more than the stained fruit of a scandalous adultery. Talia remembered watching Astros's baptism from the shadows, watching as he was showered with every blessing the empire could bestow. Jealousy had ripped through her then, sharp as a dagger. How could she feel such a profound, soul-deep hatred for a tiny scrap of flesh that couldn't even focus its eyes properly? Genevieve, ever attuned to the shifts in her daughter's dark heart, never allowed the useless eldest daughter to get anywhere near her precious son. Because of this, Talia only saw her brother at carefully orchestrated official events. This was the first time since his birth that he had stood so close to her. She scoured the room with a narrowed gaze. "Did you come alone?" "If mother finds out." "I'm not alone." "I came with barons," the boy said, pointing to a shadow in the corridor. Only then did Talia notice the man standing in the gloom, his presence as silent and ominous as a ghost. He had been her guard once, long ago. Now, his dark eyes held a lethal warning: if she dared to so much as touch Astros, he would end her in a heartbeat. A bitter taste rose in Talia's throat. His eyes seemed to scream the truth she already knew: you will never be important to anyone. Hiding the turbulence in her soul, Talia asked coldly, "Why did you come?" "I heard that my sister was leaving soon on a long journey. So I decided." "I'm leaving?" Talia cut him off, her voice turning jagged and sharp. The boy hesitated, flinching as though she had struck him, before continuing with a cautious whisper. "The Empress said that my big sister would be joining the pilgrimage." Talia stared at him in a state of sudden, absolute shock. Then, she erupted into a fit of harsh, jarring laughter. Astros winced and took a terrified step back. Even this child could see she was unraveling. Clutching her stomach as the laughter racked her thin frame, Talia leaned down until she was eye to eye with her brother. She spoke in a voice that was faintly sweet, dripping with a lethal poison. "And what else did our mother empress have to say?" Astros hesitated for a long moment. He seemed to finally realize that he had shattered whatever peace she had managed to find. But he wasn't the kind of child to let fear silence him. She said that perhaps my sister would be married soon. A man called Count Syrian has asked for your hand." He spoke with a childish gravity, but fell silent when he saw the transformation in her face. It was an expression that could turn blood to ice. The guard in the hallway immediately stepped between them, his hand resting on the hilt of his blade. He was afraid she would lose her mind and strike out at her brother in her rage. Talia ignored the man entirely. Her eyes remained fixed on her brother's innocent face. "So, you came to congratulate me? To say goodbye because your big sister is finally leaving the palace to stop being an eyesore for everyone?" Even a 6-year-old could feel the venom in her words. His small shoulders shook. "If my sister gets married, we'll see each other even less," he protested, his voice thick with a timid, desperate hope. "I just wanted to talk. We're brother and sister. I always dreamed we'd be close, like the first princess is with the crown prince. But if you marry, I might never get the chance. That's why I came." Talia looked into his wide, expectant eyes with a flat indifference. Because of this boy, she had been reduced to a non-entity. The Empress, the Emperor, and their beautiful, brilliant son made for a perfect, golden portrait. She was the ugly stain they were desperate to scrub away. The brighter Astros shone, the deeper the shadows became for her. Her envy of this child was a source of profound, sickening humiliation. It was a struggle just to look at him. Talia laughed again, a sound stripped of all humor. Do you want me to be like the first princess? Do you want me to bleed myself dry to ensure you take the throne? Do you want me to throw myself into the fire for your sake? That's not what I meant at all. Don't bother, Talia snapped. Our mother has already mapped out exactly how to use me for your benefit. My marriage is undoubtedly just another move on the board for you. So, little brother, give up on your pathetic dreams. Astros was entirely unprepared for such naked hostility. His bewildered expression betrayed his sheltered upbringing. This was a child who had never known a night of fear, a child who had lived his entire life in a warm, protective greenhouse. This meeting would likely be his first real wound. Talia's lips curled into a lethal smile. I have not the slightest desire to be your loving sister. I hate you every bit as much as I hate the twins. Tears welled in the boy's eyes, bright with shock. Talia didn't stop. If you understand that, then get out. Astros pressed his lips together, fighting a losing battle against his tears. He turned without a word and fled into the empty hallway. The man in black followed him like a silent, protective shadow. Talia locked the door and returned to her post by the window. The sky, which had been a brilliant blue, was now bleeding into shades of lavender and bruised purple. The workers were leaving the estate, their day's work done. The knights had likely already returned to their families. Out of habit, Talia raised her finger to her lips, and immediately hissed in pain. Bright red blood was oozing from the raw skin between her nail and her fingertip. At the sight of her own blood, the poison that had been thickening in her heart finally reached her throat. She fought back a scream with everything she had. She snatched her cloak from the hook and threw it over her silk dress. Without a word to anyone, and without a single maid to attend her, Talia left the lesser palace.